everybody, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Fangirl radio show. I'm your host, Jessica Dwyer, and with me are my two lovely and talented co hosts, Mr. Erik Smith
Hello, everyone.
and Mr. Ryan Stacy.
Work. What's up, Jessica?
What up? This episode is going to be a mixed blessing of things. We're going to do a tribute at the end of the episode, talk about the loss of Gene Wilder. And if you read our Fangirl magazine online, you'll see the giant tribute that I posted about him. Wasn't expecting a loss like that again this year. Seems like all our heroes are going away. So this was a rough one, and I figure it would be a good time for the three of us to talk about our favorite Gene Wilder movies, because basically everybody I know has a favorite Gene Wilder movie. So we will be talking about the awesomely talented Gene Wilder later in the episode. One good news, though, is the fact that Horror Hound Weekend is next week, which is crazy to think about because it's already here. And I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be filming a pilot, which is really
Ooh, girl, you picked up a pilot?
I picked up a pilot.
Is he cute?
I'm sorry, he's very cute. He's very cute. He looks a lot like me. So, no, I will be filming a pilot at the convention, and it's really exciting. It'll be even more exciting if it gets picked up. But we are filming a pilot there, and if you see us running around with a camera, I will be happy to talk to you and interview you on camera if you're so inclined. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a huge show, lots of cool stuff going on. There's a Child's Play reunion, there's a Fright Night reunion, there's a Halloween reunion going on. I think there's like a kind of like a Night of the Creeps reunion. It's crazy. It's a huge show. And this isn't even the one that takes over a convention center. So I'm pretty stoked. It's crazy. But it is the one with Mask Fest, so that's even cooler. Mask Fest is huge. It's like 2 cons in one's what you're getting with this one. So anyway, guys, how has it been for you? What have you been up to? Let's go with Erik first. What have you been up to, Erik?
Oh, just keeping incredibly busy. First of all, of course, there's the day job, unfortunately, because there are bills to pay. But I have a lot of books that I have to read and review, so I've been working on those, and lots of new games to play, to review.
And you played one just recently.
I did.
What did you play?
Well, last episode we talked about Legendary Big Trouble in Little China, and this week I got a chance to play Legendary Encounters Firefly.
Ooh, the Firefly!
So far, it's absolutely incredible, in my opinion. You actually take on the role of one of the main characters, and you play through the episodes of the TV show.
Oh, wow.
And so we haven't played through all of them, but so far, as you play through the episodes, they seem very well themed. You play 3 episodes at a time in order. And so for the first game, if you play Serenity Part 1, your objective is to just steal some salvage.
So this isn't going to play out like the TV show where you put them in the wrong order, right?
No, will not be this. I am not playing with anyone from Fox, so we will be playing in the correct order. So Serenity Part 1, you steal some salvage. And then Serenity Part 2, your objectives are to defeat Dobson.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember the show, that was Carlos Jacot.
Yep.
And then your second objective is to defeat Patience. And you have to fight her outlaws and all this other stuff.
Throw the guy through the engine.
Well, no, that's in the third episode, the train job.
Oh, that's right, because it's still Patience, though, right? Or is
no,
it
no,
it was Badger. It was Badger.
It's Badger.
That's right.
Or Niska, actually.
That's right.
It's Niska. So in episode 3, your objectives are to defeat Cow, I believe is his name. He's the big guy that gets kicked into the engine in the show, and to steal the medical supplies. And you actually have to, as you're playing the game and you're laying out the cards, first you have to get the skyhook, because you have to have the skyhook to get the medical supplies off the train. And then if you steal the medical supplies, you have to decide if you're going to keep them and sell them to Niska or if you're going to give them to the townspeople. You actually have to make that choice within the game. And then you have the Serenity as part of the play mat, and it can take damage. And so you have to keep repairing the Serenity, because if it explodes, if it takes too much damage and explodes, you lose the game. And I've seen a lot of complaints about the artwork, but it just plays. It's so much fun to play, especially if you're a fan of the show. And I feel it really captures the feel of the episodes. That I don't care whether or not the artwork is terrible. I didn't think it was terrible personally. It's not the greatest, but they're trying to capture the likeness of the actors, and it's hit and miss with a lot of games like this where they try to do that. But huge fun if you're a Firefly fan. I highly recommend it.
Nice. So, Ryan, I know that you had a religious experience apparently.
Yes, I did.
Go on.
Well, okay. First, when I start this, I've been a fan for a long time, but I've never watched these award shows or anything. But I did get to tune into what used to be called the VMAs. I don't know if you guys remember this. It's when they used to give out awards for music videos.
What are those?
They're just songs. They're songs with pretty pictures. And Beyonce did a really, really long, pretty picture this year called Lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a 15-minute stage show. It was a sampling of this new album, which is pretty much just entirely about her husband cheating on her.
Wonderful.
And I mean, the whole idea behind this album is taking the lemons that life hands you and making lemonade. And there's a really positive message behind it, but her performance just killed me. And so I've just kind of been in this Beyonce daze for 2 days, like just listening to her music and wishing I was Beyonce.
So the thing that I saw that was pretty awesome that she did was that she brought on stage the mothers, or she at least brought to the show the mothers of these shootings, the shooting victims.
She did. She did. I believe she had 8 women with her that were mothers of all these victims that, we've had to see in the forefront of all this just nastiness that's been going on in the world.
Right. That's pretty awesome that she did that. I think. I know a lot of people, it sounded like a lot of people were not happy with her for doing that, but at the same time, she knows that she has a stage and she has an audience, and it can get the message out there about, there's a face to these tragedies. And that's pretty awesome.
I think so too. And I don't understand why people are getting so upset with her for doing that. There are so many other things going on in the world, and half the time the people that are saying these awful things about what she did over the weekend don't really care about pop culture and what's going on in that realm. Beyonce's vehicle for her voice is, the pop world, award shows, performances, music videos. So why are we criticizing her for using that platform to speak a message?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's, it's not as, I mean, it's allow her to do that, at least allow her to do some good with it. And I think that's what she's trying to do. It's like when they had the abuse survivors at the Oscars, in a way. The same thing when they came
Exactly.
out, and that was just something beautiful, I thought. So yeah, it's make something decent out of the VMAs for once, for the love of God.
And then she took home 6 Moon Men. So
Yeah.
I say, you know what? Just eat it.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
that's
Well,
what I've been doing.
So let's get into the Weekend Geek because there's a lot to talk about, and the one thing I want to talk about for sure is something that I'm one of the resident gamers on the show, and this is just fantastic to me. I'm a Humble Bundle whore. I love the Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle does really cool stuff. They give you really, really amazing deals that you can pay what you want from $1 on for these really cool deals where they bundle together games, books, things like that. And I'm an old school gamer. I grew up with Sierra stuff, and right now they have the Humble Sierra bundle. It's $215 worth of games. And right now, if you just want to pay $1 or whatever you want to do, because this does go to charity, and you can even adjust it as such to whatever charity you want to do. They have as much as you want to whichever charity these are going to. And right now, these are the going to the Call of Duty endowment. You can get the entire Space Quest collection, Phantasmagoria 1 and 2, the entire Police Quest collection, and a little game called Shiftlings. If you pay $12.73, you can get Arcanum, Time Shift, Quest for Glory 1 through 5, Gabriel Knight 1 through 3, and if you pay $15 or more, you get Caesar 3 and 4, Geometry Wars, and the entire King's Quest collection, as well as a game called Velocity 2X. And for an extra for 20, you get the entire King's Quest complete collection, including the new version of King's Quest. That's pretty ridiculous. $20 for almost $220 worth of games.
And how many of those bundles did you order, Jessica?
Well, the cool thing is what this does is you don't get a physical copy. You don't have to deal with that. It gives you the codes to Steam, and you can unlock them on Steam and have them forever. And you can install them on your PC. Like what I'll do is I'll put it on my desktop, and I will also install it on my Surface because you can do that. So yeah, it's pretty fantastic. I bought the dollar deal because I don't need any of the other ones. Just because I love Police Quest so much, and Space Quest and Phantasmagoria. These are like classic games. And Space Quest alone, you get like 6 or 7 games on it. Same with Police Quest. So it's crazy. It's a good deal. Go now, Humble Bundle. I believe it's going on for another 12 days. So go get it. And what's cool is they'll add games too randomly to after you've purchased, and you'll just suddenly have an extra game pop up on your thing, which is pretty neat. That's all I have to say about that. I know you guys seem so thrilled. I am the game. As I said, I'm the resident gamer. This made me happy. Something that should make everybody happy. It will make me happy when I finally get to watch all of it. Is the fact that Stranger Things is getting a second season. Surprise, big surprise, since no one is not talking about Stranger Things. I've had the
I'm not talking about it. I haven't seen it yet.
I've had the entire thing ruined for me already. So
I
it's
haven't seen it either.
but it's the biggest thing in the world right now of geekdom. Everybody loves it. Shooter Jennings is playing an extended version of the theme song on Electric Rodeo even. And so I've watched almost the entire first episode. I just need to just sit down and do it because I'm already had everything ruined for the most part. But it is fantastic what I've seen. I really like it. It's definitely a nice throwback. Stephen King loves it to death. And so what they're going to do is they've announced with the trailer that the second season is going to take place in the fall of 1984. So it's, as I said, a massive throwback show, and that's pretty exciting for everybody that's seen this. That seems to be the entire world but the three of us. So I don't feel so bad.
I can tell you that Sean, my roommate, has watched the series, and from what I overheard with my back to it because I was at the computer, it sounds like it's a great radio show. It's a great radio play.
Well, it's actually, it really does feel like, Explorers meets, if Explorers or Goonies or E.T. was written by Stephen King, that's what this show is. from just the first episode alone that I have watched.
You know what
That's
is
what
so
it shows.
funny is I made that same kind of parallel to It yesterday. I was watching It and I was like, this is like if Stephen King wrote The Goonies.
Well, that's basically what this is. It really is.
What?
So another new series this is a new series that's coming, and I'm sure Eric's probably going to be excited about this as he's the other resident comic book geek. Is Marvel's developing a new Warriors TV series with Squirrel Girl.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and they're talking about it actually may not be on any of their Disney channels, which is interesting because it's a younger what they're describing it as like a young version of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Um they are not thinking about having that on any of the Disney channels or something like that, which is interesting to me. Not even Netflix. There's rumors going around that they could maybe do it on Hulu or Amazon.
Well, I've heard rumors of a Runaways show as
Yeah.
well, and that being on Hulu. And I think keeping them off of Netflix is kind of a good idea because Netflix
they've got a lot already on their plate.
well, not just that they have a lot, but they've established a tone.
They're definitely the more adult.
Those are the dark, gritty, street level. Yes, there are superpowers, but they're very subtle in in the Netflix shows. And if they do Runaways and they do New Warriors, they're going to be lighter in tone, and they should have much more as far as superpowers go, more like the Avengers.
Right. Well, and I'm surprised I guess it's going to be live action. I was thinking that they were going to do something like a cartoon with it, but
I just assumed it was live action.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not really clear because they're still really early stages with it, but it sounds like to me it's live action, and they're even I guess they're doing like a Cloak and Dagger series on Freeform too, which is another ABC Disney owned network. So they're going to be they're definitely putting all the Marvel stuff out there.
Cloak and Dagger was a good series, comic book series. Is Freeform the channel that used to be ABC Family?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I would love to see a Cloak and Dagger series, New Warriors, Runaways. I loved Runaways.
That I think is going to be. That sounds like it's going to be on a major network. I think. Like
that would be cool. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that would be. That would be fun to see. But I found that interesting. Squirrel Girl is just kind of taken over. I think it's hilarious that she's taken over so much. Also in the land of TV, everything seems to be TV. Although the movie news that I've got sort of sad in one way. But also in the realm of TV, which I'm kind of trying to figure how they're going to play this. TNT has ordered the pilot for a TV series version of Let the Right One In. I don't know how I feel about that. I really, really love the original movie. I even like the remake that they did. So I don't know how that's going to flow. If they're going to do like a old school, like follow the vampire character through the previous years, because that they could do a complete like old historical version of it up until the recent days, or they could just follow what happens after she and the little boy run off together. But I don't know how that's going to work as a TV series. What do you guys think?
I probably won't watch it.
I'm getting tired of these movies being made into TV series. I don't know.
I really kind of don't think they should touch it because the ending was perfect. She found, well, if it depends on what movie you're going by, because we all know from the book the true story of the vampire in it. But which is really, really tragic. but it's sort of like this is the perfect ending to this. She's found another protector, another daytime person that's going to, grow old with her always being young, and they take off.
But
Why?
it could be a prequel.
I don't know. I don't think they're. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work as a weekly series. I just don't know how that's going to go. How it's going to work out. Um,
It doesn't seem like the type of story
that would make a good series.
that would make a good series. Now, The Exorcist is coming out,
right.
and um, I have no idea how it's going to be. But at first, I was like, well, why would you make The Exorcist into a series? But it focuses on the guy, so you can have
multiple things.
you're
Yeah.
right. It's not. I hate to say monster of the week, demon of the week, exorcism of the week, but it doesn't have to be. For some reason, my first thought was they're just going to expand the movie into this series, however many episodes. But no, he can go from place to place.
Right.
See character growth and all of that, and so maybe that could work. But yeah, let the right one in. I've never even seen the American version. I only saw the original.
Really, really good. I actually it fills in a lot more backstory than the original version does. And what's his name? Richard. Can't remember his name. The actor that's in it. He was the stepdad in Step Brothers. Richard.
Jenkins.
Thank you, Richard Jenkins. Is fantastic in it. He's really, really good and very, very tragic.
Is he the caretaker?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's really sad. But that I highly, strongly suggest seeing it because it's got this crash sequence in it is just amazing how they filmed it. It's really, really good. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to play. Another series that's I've been waiting for a very long time, and we're finally getting. It's finally premiering on October 2nd on HBO. Is Westworld.
Woohoo!
And they have released a new trailer for it that gives even more look at the show and how creepy they're doing this. And Eric's going to be very happy about this because they get more Jimmy Simpson in there. You get to see him in it.
Woohoo!
And
Clifton
Collins Jr. is in it, which I didn't even know. He shows up in everything. But it's really an interesting preview because you get some more Anthony Hopkins in there, and it's truly creepy. He's really going creepy with his character, and I really, really love Ed Harris in this. Just from what I saw, is he's of course playing the role that was originated by Yul Brynner, which is the gunslinger. Mm-hmm. And they're giving him more of a savior role in this, in terms of he is how this kind of the savior of the androids. He and Evan Rachel Wood, who's like the saloon girl in it, who's also an android. They both become sort of self-aware at the same time as that it looks like from this trailer. And so he comes to her and tells her, you see him say, I'm here to show you the light or whatever. And it looks fantastic. There's they show the androids actually being made, and there's this great image of one of the bodies being pulled out of this like white fake skin, and that you can see the skeletal structure and the musculature dipped in this white, and it just is creepy as hell. And towards the end of the trailer, and we'll have this posted on Fangirl. Towards the end of the trailer, Evan Rachel Wood asks Anthony Hopkins, are we old friends? And he looks at her and he just does this really creepy pause. He's like, I wouldn't say that. No, not friends. I wouldn't say that at all. And it's like, oh. So they're really going dark with this. I love the look of it. It looks really slick. And that comes from, you've got Jonathan Nolan in there mixed with J.J. Abrams. So it's just going to be a really great show. I can't not wait to see it. And finally, seems like I've been waiting forever.
I love the original movie, and the sequel, Future World.
You liked Future World?
Hey, I was a kid. I haven't seen it in ages. I have watched
Peter
parts of
Fonda.
it, but come on, it's
You
Westworld
know,
and Future World.
you
They go together.
you know they had a TV series too, right?
Oh, I've watched. They had the greatest TV series back in the day: Planet of the Apes, Logan's Run.
I know but the Westworld one was really odd. Like they were after the guy that was in charge of Westworld, and it was just really strange. I think it only lasted for like maybe 5 or 6 episodes, but it was really odd. Just I don't know why they thought that would work. That's another one. Why did they think that would work as a TV series?
Well, see now this is I didn't even think about that. We're talking about all these movies that are now being made into TV series, but they were doing it all the time when we were kids too.
Yeah, but you know what? There was a hokey, awesome factor to them back then that made it work. At least to me, like Logan's Run, I can see that as a TV series because it's an ongoing. He's and Planet of the Apes worked too as that,
Mhm.
and they even had a cartoon series to add more to that. So kind of going into the realm of moviedom, um, we got like looks like Ben Affleck decided to do a massive spoiler on his Twitter feed. Have you
I
heard
could
about
not believe that. I could not believe that.
He actually just, I don't know if it's him in costume. Who's in the costume? No one knows who it is. But he just showed like Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, walking around in full on Metal Gear on set for Justice League. Possibly.
I've heard that it's Joe Manganiello.
Really?
I heard that, and I also I originally saw Justice League, but then I saw it was for the Batman solo movie.
Yeah. Well, where are they introducing him in Justice League, or is this just like test footage like they did for Deadpool?
I think it's test footage.
So they're doing Deathstroke as Deadpool test footage thing. Like we're gonna leak this to see what people think.
Right.
I think it's all a scam.
Way to rip off Marvel DC again.
Well, considering Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke, it's only fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's I'm curious to see what we find out. I find it really interesting that everyone thought that Ben Affleck was going to end up being Slade Wilson.
No, you're the only one who thought that. Jason.
I thought it would be awesome and it would make so much sense, and I still wish it was true. After seeing Batman versus Superman, I still wish it was true.
And yet the women of the world are very glad to hear that it could be Joe Manganiello.
If he starts busting a move and taking a bottle of water out and spraying it everywhere, then we'll know.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Or it could be horrors of horrors. They could take the helmet off and it's Channing Tatum. God.
He probably cannot do that because he's technically contracted for Gambit. So he's probably got a non-compete clause in his contract.
Oh God, I hope that. I just want him to bow out of the Gambit thing. Just bow out now. Just go away. Don't just go away. Go over there. Be magic.
We could talk about potentially. But speaking of magic and potentially good news, have we talked about the whole Doug Liman thing? Is that how you say his name, Liman?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Doug Liman being named as director for a live-action Justice League Dark movie.
Ooh, was that official?
I don't know. I read it in Variety.
Oh, that's right, because he left Gambit, and they're saying that he is supposedly going to be. Well, he's on the short list for the. That's right. I read
his name. I read that he was named director.
Huh.
Saw a couple. I read the article in Variety, on Variety.com, and I saw it a couple other places. So I mean, I'm not saying it's official. I'm saying I read that he was named as the director, and they have a screenwriter, and it's going. I was already excited about the animated Justice League Dark movie.
I can't
If
wait
I can
for
get
that.
a live action Justice League Dark
It can
movie.
clean the taint of the Killing Joke away.
Oh
Well, originally that Justice League Dark film was announced a while back, and Del Toro was going to direct
Yeah,
it.
I know. Don't remind me.
yeah. I've heard that he's still involved as maybe an executive producer or something.
See, that's our buddy Doug Jones's dream. He wants to be Dead Man. He wants Dead Man.
He would be a great dead man.
He wants it. I've talked to him a couple of times, and he's like, "I want it." So look at that chest. He's built. He's built for this.
You get him and he and Del Toro to pull some strings, and
Yeah, I'm telling you.
but I was very excited to see that. And like I said, as far as I can tell, he is the director, and they are going ahead with this movie.
I would be okay with that. You know, Marvel jacked around with that. They've. I don't think we're ever going to get a Gambit movie. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think we really need one.
We don't. We honestly don't need a Gambit movie.
He's not a lead character, in my opinion. I like the character.
I love Gambit, but I don't like the thought of Channing Tatum playing him. I just don't see it.
I can't see a Gambit movie at all.
I could see it if he has a paper bag on his head.
Ow.
Why are we so anti Channing Tatum?
We're moving on.
It's just because, no, I'm going to say this. I'm not anti Channing Tatum. I think he's very handsome, and I think that he is definitely what you would call a movie star. As an actor, I don't know. I want to see him do some other things, but as Gambit, no, I can't. I just can't even.
I don't see him as Gambit. I'm sorry.
He was wonderful in This Is the End.
Well, yeah.
He had a dog collar on.
Dog collar. And he had like 2 lines. So this is the weird, poor, pitiful character of the week. King Arthur. King Arthur can't catch a break. I'm not talking about the new movie that's coming out that Guy Ritchie's doing. That looks actually good. I'm talking about,
Are you talking about Mr. Bay?
I'm talking about, there's 2 things actually. One of them is Mr. Bay. The other is going to make you go, WTF, why?
No, the Mr. Bay one makes me do WTF, and I'll tell you why.
So the Mr. Bay one that we're talking about is, for whatever effing reason, Transformers is going back to Camelot, and it's going to be, oh God, I can't believe this. Jesus Christ. Why? I think Tony Hopkins at this point is just like, give me a check and I'll do whatever.
Right, he's in it.
He's in it. So we have Sir Anthony Hopkins, Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson, Tyrese Gibson, and Liam Garrigan, and it's going to be King Arthur and the Transformers, and it's called Transformers: The Last Night. I wish I was making that up.
And did you see who's playing King Arthur?
That's Liam Garrigan, right?
The same King Arthur from Once Upon a Time.
Oh God, I didn't even think about that.
He plays the same character.
They didn't even bother. Is he going to be evil in this too? Because wasn't he evil in Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, he was a downright
bastard.
Yeah, I didn't know what I could say.
Yeah. So I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It is the same guy. Oh my God. Yeah. Boy, there's some
typecasting much.
There's some inspired casting there. So King Arthur can't catch a break because you hear what they've now announced. God dang. So Fox is developing a new series where King Arthur fights crime and magic in modern time. When an ancient magic reawakens in modern-day Manhattan, a graffiti artist named Art must team with his best friend Lance and his ex Gwen, an idealistic cop, in order to realize his destiny and fight back against the evil forces that threaten the city.
Does he have a mentor named Myrrh?
Or Lynn.
Right.
I honestly, I can't make that up. That is an actual thing that's happening right now.
All right. I'm going to ask, have either of you ever read the comic book Mage by Matt Wagner?
I've heard of it. I've actually read it.
They need to throw aside whatever the hell you were just saying, talking about that. I would love to see an adaptation of Mage, which is King Arthur in the modern world.
Are there Transformers? If there's no Transformers.
No Transformers. I thought it was an amazing comic book. Excalibur is a baseball bat.
Right? It's got a mate named Lucille.
But maybe. This was long before Lucille existed. Lucille was still a tree. But yeah, so it's this guy, and Kevin Matchstick is the name of the character, and he's just an ordinary guy until, again, it's kind of like magic starts encroaching on the world, and then he meets this woman who tells him he's the reincarnation of King Arthur, and he ends up with the baseball bat. I mean, it's been a long time since I read it, but it was just amazing. The artwork was beautiful. The story was incredible.
What I love about
I would much rather see that. Something so different than what sounds like
every other freaking show.
Yeah, it's like Grimm, but we're going to make it King Arthur.
Well, it's like
one of Grimm's.
Everything has to be a police procedural. You know, the thing that makes Lucifer work is the fact that you've got a lead guy who's really interesting, and that whole concept of he's Lucifer. He's not, that whole concept that the bad guy is actually the good guy. That's enough difference to everything else out there.
The good guy's actually a bad guy.
Yeah. But this is like, she just happens to be an idealistic cop. Really? Guinevere's a bitch. She screws over Arthur with Lancelot.
Yeah, I'd rather, if they were going to do something like this, I would rather, first of all, that the names aren't just so spot on.
An art, and he's a graffiti artist named.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
A graffiti artist.
It would make an interesting nighttime soap opera.
No, it wouldn't.
It could. Not necessarily this particular concept, but I mean
like whole a Dallas type of thing.
A lot of only good. Wow. I mean, a lot of that Arthurian
Dynasty.
legends.
That's all I heard.
Yes,
Dynasty.
there you go.
Oh yes, I would love for Dynasty. I actually started watching Dynasty on, I think they had it on Amazon Prime.
All I have to say to that is, you bitch.
You bitch.
There is a lot of soap in the Arthurian legend.
Oh, hell yeah.
So make it something, the cop procedural thing.
You're right. I would watch the hell out of, Covington Cross. Remember Covington Cross? I loved that show. That had Glenn Quinn in it before there was Angel. And it was before Roseanne. And it was fantastic. And it even had I'm blanking on his name, but it had the guy that played in Excalibur as the father in it. And it was set in medieval times, and it was sort of like a family dynamic in medieval times, but it was awesome. But it had the soap aspect and everything. But I think you're right. This would totally work as some, you know what? You need to write that, Erik.
I'll see what I can do.
You just need to write it. Because that
hashtag stolen.
Someone's going to rip off your idea, and they're going to make they kind of had something like that called Monarchs or Kings or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the thought of making it like a dynasty type of thing where, Arthur owns some sort of timber company that makes tables or something that are like really well renowned and round. but something cool like that, and it would be neat. But this is just the same. Why does everything have to be a police procedural?
Because
I
once
have been dying to interject, by the way, and
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry
Okay.
to cut you off there.
Sorry.
You guys, we're talking about King Arthur. Eric, before we started the episode, you asked me what I had been working on,
Mhm.
and I haven't really talked about this publicly, so y'all are kind of getting the scoop.
Ooh.
But I'm creating a 6-episode web series, and it's kind of a supernatural drama, kind of soap opera-y, a little bit going on about this group of people who are affected by the murder of the local psychic. And the local psychic, she has a deck of tarot cards. And I actually got permission from the artist and the publishing house to use my own personal tarot deck that I've always had in the show. And that tarot deck is called Legend, the Arthurian Tarot.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, so I'm really excited to use all this beautiful imagery. So is the artist. She kind of gushed to me a little bit about it. Like, I'll have to send you some scans of the things that she's done with the characters. And the deck pretty much does tell the entire story of everything that went down around King Arthur. And so, Jessica, I just have to back up that point that, yeah, it would make a really great soap opera.
No, it
So
totally would. It totally would. I mean, I don't know. I'm just really sick of it always defaulting to something like with the idea, the stolid, idealistic female cop and her quirky new partner, with Richard Castle. What? No, wait. Yeah, I'm just kind of done with it. So anyway, let's get to our tribute because it needs to happen, and I don't think I'm going to bawl. I'm going to do my best not to cry. But we lost an icon a couple of days ago in the form of Gene Wilder. And I personally grew up watching Gene Wilder. I watched things that I shouldn't have watched at the age I was when I saw them. I'm sure one of those including Blazing Saddles. But it really affected me when I heard he had passed away. And it's, I'm sure kids my age and not, kids right now, when they find out that the guy that created Willy Wonka is gone, felt it hard. And that was one thing that I still can't get over. And more things I read, it just hurts more to read about it. Where he didn't want anyone to know about his illness because whenever he would walk into restaurants and things, his nephew shared this, and I wrote about this in my tribute on the site. When he'd walk in, people would just light up. They'd see him and they'd realize, oh my God, there he is. Kids would smile, adults would smile. They just get this beaming smile because there was the Candyman. There was the guy that made them believe in pure imagination. And when he found out he was sick, he did not want that shared because he did not want to taint that memory. And so he kept it quiet and he made sure everyone else didn't talk about it because he did not want to taint that memory for all of those people. And that's freaking amazing to me. So I'm going to pass it because I'm about ready to cry. I'm going to pass this on to Erik because I know, Erik, you grew up watching him too. So what some of the things that you remember? What's your favorite, if you can pick one?
Well, if I'm just gonna pick a favorite role, it's got to be Willy Wonka. I watched a ton of movies with Gene Wilder. I remember watching. I loved Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor together.
Oh my God.
Stir Crazy, and See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I would watch them over and over and over again when they were on HBO, I believe, because they would show it however many a dozen times a week, and I would watch it.
Yeah, Stir Crazy seemed to be on all the time.
I would watch them constantly, and of course, I love Blazing Saddles, an amazingly funny movie. Just lots of stuff, but Willy Wonka is, to me, his greatest performance. Just an amazing piece of work for an actor. And that movie, again, I've been watching it since I was a kid, and it's always had just this weird. It was like the weirdest kids movie that I'd ever seen, I think, and it still just feels off kilter. It's a very odd movie, and a lot of that had to do with him, and his performance was amazing. Um, so as much as I enjoyed everything else that I ever saw him in, The Haunted Honeymoon, I remember seeing that in the theaters um, with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But it always comes back. It's always going to come back to Willy Wonka.
Well, and I think it's because he created a character with Willy Wonka that was just, he was so odd, and at the same time, kids got it. His characterization wasn't afraid to be scary, and it was interesting because I mean, like the whole boat sequence. This was before Young Frankenstein. He got that crazy mad scientist hair going on, and the rant and the poem while all those terrifying scenes are going on behind him. I think it's just he appealed to kids because they got that kids could handle freaky, scary stuff and dug it.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't believe I didn't mention Young Frankenstein. That's probably my second favorite. But I was so caught up on the whole Willy Wonka thing. Yeah, Young Frankenstein, another great one.
I think that film roles wise, that would be my favorite of Gene Wilder's was Young Frankenstein. I just love that the putting on the Ritz number. That is just one of it's just one of the most. It's really an adorable kind of thing to watch, and it just captures, I think, a brilliant moment between two completely brilliant actors, and I just really wanted to say that my favorite role that Gene Wilder ever had was husband to Gilda Radner. I remember being a kid and having just this crazy wicked fascination with female comedians. They were just so much more ballsy and willing to go where some men wouldn't. And so I wanted to know more about this Gilda Radner, and I learned that her husband was Willy Wonka. And I just kind of read about her life and their relationship and how much he adored her and how hard it was for him losing her. And I just always felt he was such a remarkable man and an even more remarkable husband.
Well, and the thing that I took too was just how decent a human being he was. Like, you never heard a bad word about Gene Wilder. I never heard a bad word about him, and how he, when Gilda passed away, how he made a effort, like he made a massive effort to do something about cancer research, and he himself was a victim of lymphoma, and he survived it. Um, but I think I also believe that his mother died of cancer as well. And it really affected his life, and he really took a stand against that disease, and made made like a a charity, like a institute to help Gilda's uh, form of cancer that she had, which I believe was also ovarian. Um, and even after, when he, a lot of people keep forgetting that he was married after Gilda, and uh, she supported his efforts as well. His wife, I believe her name was Karen, and it just, everybody, he was just such a gentle person. And if you watch the interviews with him, that he did with, like, there was a one with uh, Alec Baldwin, did with him, as well as one with James Lipton. He's so thoughtful, and his voice is so soft, and his voice is like I described it, was it was made for telling stories. And you know, I'm kind of rambling here, but it's one of those things. It's just he he was part of my life so much because it started with Willy Wonka, but because I grew up watching so much television and things I shouldn't have watched, when I saw him as Willy Wonka, in my head it just clicked, like this is this is he grabbed a hold of something in my brain, and I started finding things like other movies that he did because I watched late night TV a lot. And back then, CBS did a lot of these movies of the week that they'd reshow. And that's where I saw things like Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, which is fantastic. And movies like The World's Greatest Lover, which other stuff that I shouldn't have watched at that age. But, you know, and Blazing Saddles. But a lot of people don't realize, you know, he co wrote Young Frankenstein. He wrote and directed a bunch of films that he did himself, um, that he starred in as well. And that's pretty amazing to me that he was just so multiple talented and like that. So, you know, you don't have a lot of people like that anymore. That could
You
be that.
don't. He was also very wonderful in his role on Will and Grace. That was
Yeah,
one of the things that, yeah,
that was one of his last performances, and he won an Emmy.
he did.
Yeah,
He did. He was hilarious on that show. I believe he was Will's boss,
I think that's right. I think he played his boss.
and he ran a law firm, but I think he was kind of very eccentric and almost borderline
Crazy.
dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
Well, and the cool thing is too, people forget too that he did that he also, I believe, wrote these as well and starred in them. He did two mystery movies that were shown on like A&E back in the late 90s, where they were set in the 30s. And he had an affinity. That's another thing that I really connected with him, was it seemed like he had a real affinity for the 1930s and the old, you know, old movies, like, you know, the homage that he did with Young Frankenstein, which is probably still one of the most beautifully done recreations. This sounds so bizarre, but one of the most beautifully done recreations of a James Whale movie. It's perfect. That movie is one of the most perfect comedies, just like Blazing Saddles is probably one of the most perfect comedies. But the thing that I really took from Gene Wilder, and this comes back to the Willy Wonka theme, is the fact that he was he reminded me so much of like the old time comedians, in the fact that he conveyed so much emotion in his face, and he could make things that were normally, you know, like he could make funny touching. um like he did that in Blazing Saddles, and he did that in Young Frankenstein. He it's very odd, but he could convey so much emotion with just a look. And it wasn't just the comedy, it was this sweetness that he had about him, and almost like a sadness too, if that makes any sense.
That was very beautifully put, Jessica.
It reminds me of these old comedians, like the, you know, like the ones that, well, you know, like with World's Greatest Lover, he was homaging the old classic silent film era, and that's where I think he kind of, maybe he got that from there. But that's what I took from him when I saw him in these films, was he just had such a sweetness, like a manic sweetness about him. He could, and that's what some other people, I noticed some other people said the same thing, which is he could look like he was about to go on a tirade or suddenly cry in the blink of an eye. And that reminds me of guys like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. I don't know. That's what I think. And we don't have many like that have that ability anymore. And that's sad.
That is sad. Way to bring it down, Jess.
Sorry, I am not Not crying yet. I've managed not to cry. I think I've cried out. But I want to just give you guys each one last before we go. One last thought about Gene Wilder. So Erik, we'll start with you.
I mean, he made us laugh. What else? What greater gift?
Yep. And Ryan?
I think my friend Kirsten best said it yesterday when she called me and she said, I don't often get upset over the deaths of celebrities. It's a lot like, she said, we've had a lot of them leave this year. She said, but there's just something, it's like Gene Wilder was Willy Wonka, and now that he's gone, it's like that last piece of your childhood is kind of died away, and it's a bummer.
Yeah, I think that's what got a lot of people was, Willy Wonka is supposed to be immortal, and he is, but it's doesn't make it any easier when we lose him, and like I said, it was he kind of was the part of the bedrock of what made me me, and a lot of other people my age was built upon that. Like he's right in there with Henson and those guys who gave me a love of imagination with what they made, and they made me want to believe it. And that character, even though people are like, well, he's a psychopath, he killed these kids, or he was gleefully like getting rid of them, and really that last scene sticks with me even more and more as I think about it, which is a good deed shines brightly in a weary world. All he was looking for was an honest heart after having so many dishonest things happen, and the greed around him, and that was personified in those kids. And just those line deliveries like that, where you hear it in his voice and you see it in his face, and he's just looking for one honest heart in the world, and he finds it. That sticks with you. And that's all I got. I mean, I thank him for that gift.
I think everyone does.
Yeah. I'm not gonna cry. Power through it. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a bittersweet one, but we thank you, Gene Wilder. You helped make me me, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank Erik and Ryan for joining me, and I made it through without crying. I'm so happy. I've done that too much this year. I think we all have. So join us next week. It's the week of Horror Hound Weekend. And before I fly out to Horror Hound, we will be interviewing the man himself, the Hunter Thompson of the effects world, Mr. Steve Johnson. So the censor button will probably be pushed off. But we'll look forward to that. And I want to thank you guys again. Thank you, Erik.
Anytime.
And thank you, Ryan.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
And we will see you next week on Fangirl Radio.